Greetings fellow members of the Esoteric Order of Gamers. Today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. It's the Warhammer Plus subscription service from Games Workshop. Now I must say up front that Games Workshop sent me a code for a free month of Warhammer Plus. Here in New Zealand it's $9.99 a month or $99.99 for an entire year. Now with that subscription you also get a free miniature. You've got a choice of 2 different miniatures, and if you stick with them for a year you'll get this special miniature. One of them's an Orc, another one's Warhammer 40,000 Assassin, so that's a little bonus. Now I must say up front that this is going to be from entirely my perspective, and the important thing to remember when it comes to Games Workshop stuff with me is that I've played and enjoyed their games for decades. I was there right at the start of Games Workshop. The first issue of White Dwarf I bought was number 4. I've got every single issue of White Dwarf next door. So I am a Games Workshop fan guy, I guess. I've supported them for many years. I've never been hugely into the tabletop games, the Warhammer Fantasy Battle, Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000. They haven't really been my focus because they take a lot of dedication, and I play lots of different games. But I do really enjoy all the big box games and specialist games that came out over the years, especially things like Necromunda, Adeptus Titanicus, Man of War, stuff like that. So I continue to play Games Workshop games to this day. But of course I can't deny I'm no longer as young as I used to be, so I'm kind of an old school person when it comes to Games Workshop. I'm not someone who gets very involved in the lore. I don't read the books. I'm not really interested in the background details. I like the sort of general idea of the Gothic Warhammer 40,000, the sci-fi Gothic, and the Age of Sigmar stuff is a little bit too turned up to 11 Masters of the Universe for me. I preferred the Old World, which was more gritty and real. The thing I liked about the Old World, by the way, is that you can imagine real human beings living in it, with all these battles going on in the periphery. But because I played a lot of Warhammer fantasy roleplay back in the day, I was very much into that kind of Germanic, Gothic, medieval feel that the Old World had. And it felt real and grounded, whereas Age of Sigmar is on this huge plane of the mortal realms, and it's all spectacular and huge and godlike, and it's big. And I've never related to it quite as much. Again, just a personal thing about me and the way I relate to Games Workshop. So when I talk about the Warhammer Plus subscription service, I want to say a few things up front, because I don't want to sound too critical. And I am going to be a little bit critical in what follows, but there's a reason for that. One of the reasons is that personally I'm not a huge fan of subscription services at all. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm signed up to Netflix, have been for ages. We got Amazon Prime recently because I wanted to watch a few things on that. I had to sign up to the Adobe Creative Cloud to keep using their programs, which annoys me to this day because I think it breeds complacency in software design, because they're getting the money anyway. They're not that interested in making sure everything works properly. So personally, I'm not a fan of subscription services at all, even though I have to use them in some ways. I don't like the idea of giving people a hotline to your wallet every month. That's a personal opinion. A lot of people don't mind it at all. The other thing is, as I said, I'm not a Games Workshop lore fanboy, so I'm not that fascinated by the background material. And if you are fascinated by all that background material, you're going to enjoy a subscription to Warhammer Plus a lot more than someone like me. So with those 2 caveats in mind, let's have a look at what you get for your Warhammer Plus subscription. Now, first of all, technically signing up to the subscription service is very easy. If you've already got a Warhammer login, you can use that. If you've got a Forge World login, you can also mix that with the Games Workshop one, so you can do it all together. And I found no difficulties whatsoever signing up to Warhammer Plus. As I said, I had a free code, so I could get a free month to check it out. The interface is fine, it's all in the browser. And then once you've done that and you've signed up, you get an account page which shows you links to the various things that you get for your subscription. You also choose which one of those miniatures you want, and you're off and running. Now the Warhammer TV is on a separate site, and that gives you the animations and YouTube videos and things like that. I found a slight problem in there. When you go in there, you're not signed up, even though you're already signed up into your account. But if you press the login button, if you're already signed up into your account, it just logs you in straight away. You don't have to put your details in again, so that's fine. Same with the Warhammer Vault, which is PDFs of previous Warhammer material. That does the same thing. So, you have to log in again, but that's fine. It works pretty well. So when you get to Warhammer TV, you'll see a range of stuff that they've made available, and they've added new things every week. I have to say, though, I was a little bit underwhelmed by the amount of content. You have a couple of animated programs, and you have a whole lot of videos, and this is where we get to personal opinion. Now, if I was someone who loved watching Warhammer animations, I'd go, yeah, no, this is kind of exciting. They're quite long episodes. They can be like 18 minutes long. And there were a few episodes to watch. I'm not personally into animations about Warhammer 40,000 and all the rest of it. Doesn't really excite me. But then I'm not someone who watches them in any case. I'm not an anime fan, and I don't watch animations on Netflix or anything like that. So obviously that's not a big draw card for me personally. A lot of people might enjoy them. They look like good quality animations. I watched a bit of them and, they look cool. Now, of course, I should also mention there was a bit of controversy with the whole animations thing, because just before launching Warhammer Plus, Games Workshop sent out cease and desist letters to a lot of people who were creating animated fan works based on Warhammer properties. Obviously, because they wanted to start their subscription services and they didn't want this competition out there. I think they actually employed some of those people, but some people just stopped because they were told to stop. Again, personally, I find that a little bit problematic. I think that you should support your fans in the fan stuff that they're doing. I mean, here am I spending most of the last 10 years doing fan stuff. If people sent me cease and desist letters, I'd be pretty annoyed because I've done a lot to support those games. By the same token, those people are doing stuff because they love Warhammer and they want to support it. So it'd be frustrating to find that they were told to stop doing it. But unfortunately, we live in a world of business, and Games Workshop want to protect their properties and they don't want competition for their subscription service. So that was a bit of a shame. What else do you get? Well, there are some battle report videos. I started watching one of those. It's very professionally well done. The people playing it were nice. A lot of top-down shots. It was mainly a top-down shot. I'd like to see more down on the tabletop shots because, you want to show off all that fantastic scenery and those figures. I think they'd look a lot better. It was very much sort of make sure you can see what's going on in the game by a top-down view, which is fine. But when it comes down to it, and this is, again, my personal opinion, when it comes to battle reports, they can be really boring. I mean, watching people play a game is not very interesting. What is interesting about a battle report is the rapport between the players and the fun moments and the cinematic moments and the excitement and the laughter and all the rest of it and the pew pew noises, basically. To me, that's what's fun when you watch this stuff. Just watching the mechanics of going through a game is sort of, well, I turn off. I find it dull. So I'd like to see more focus on that. And as I said, better shots of the miniatures down on the table, all that. And I'm sure they might change that in response to feedback from people watching. So I watched about half of one of those and I kind of had enough. The other thing you've got is there's a video on lore. So they're doing background videos talking about the lore. Again, I'm not a huge fan of the lore. This is all sounding very negative, isn't it? But I mean, if you like this stuff, you're going to love it. So again, this is just my opinion. If this sounds exciting to you, you're going to love it. And they are adding stuff to it all the time. There's another section of painting tutorial videos. A lot of stuff which is, on their YouTube channel anyway, and you can find on the YouTube channels, either by Games Workshop or other people. I find it feels like padding to just put this stuff behind a paywall. I'm not sure if it's still on their free Warhammer YouTube channel or not, but putting it behind a paywall feels like, I could see that on YouTube anyway. Similarly, you've got things like launch trailers and stuff that's already on their YouTube channel. Yeah, nice to have it in one place, but, do you have to pay for it when it's already free? Of course not. So that's Warhammer TV. Personally, if I'd launched a subscription service, I would have had more content up front. And the reason is you want to get people excited straight away. It's all very well saying, well, this is what we've got and we're going to put in a new episode every week and everything like that. But subscription services are the kinds of things that people try out, and if they don't like it straight away, if they're not really impressed straight away, they're going to go elsewhere, and it's going to take a lot to get them to come back. So, if I was running Games Workshop, if I was running it, I would have said, right, we want lots of really cool stuff for the launch because we want people to go in. It's like, for example, I signed up to Shudder, the horror subscription service, TV service. And after I watched about 4 things, I realised a lot of it was just padding and stuff that I didn't like. I like horror films, but they should have had more good stuff to keep you there. It's a subscription service is something you can, as I said, you can try it out for a month and then you can go, well, watch the 10 things I really wanted to see and all the rest is just not very interesting. So you've got to have a lot of really good content to make people think, this is really impressive, got a lot to watch here, and then you've got to keep the new content coming so they stay. Not many people are going to come along and say, I'm going to give Games Workshop in New Zealand $100 for a year's worth of stuff. Of course they're going to try it out for a month, and if there isn't enough stuff in a month to keep them occupied, they'll say, well, that's not worth spending the same amount every month for. So that's the thing, isn't it, with subscription services. But there is more. There's Warhammer Vault, and that's where you can download PDFs. Well, you can view PDFs. I haven't seen a way of actually downloading it, and I don't think you can. So you can view them in the browser. In here, of course, everyone's talking about, there's old issues of White Dwarf. Fortunately, they only go back about 1.5 years to January 2020. Now, it strikes me that anyone who's going to sign up to a subscription service for Warhammer is already going to be buying White Dwarf magazine. So recent issues are something they're already going to have. What they really should have done here, and again, I think this is a missed opportunity, is have some of the really old nostalgic ones, because people of the current generation of Warhammer players are not going to have access to those issues, and they're going to be really interested in the history of the game and how it was back in the old day. Now, I can look at all those issues anytime I want because I've got all copies, but I think that modern players would love to see them. So what they should have done, they didn't have to do the entire back catalogue of 450 whatever issues it is, almost 500 issues, but they could have done a selection of them from the old days, which I think would be really interesting. What would have been really impressive is to have every single White Dwarf issue in there in PDF form. I mean, that would have blown people away and made them happy for a long, long time, because it would take ages to go through it and check it all out. I think that would keep people very busy. They're talking about, there's all this stuff in the Warhammer Vault and it'll take you ages to check out. And it's like, well, no, not really, especially when it comes to White Dwarf. There's some lore stuff, which is basically the lore sections of like Warhammer Underworlds and some of the battle times and everything. They've taken out the lore section as a separate bit and put it in as a PDF. So again, if you're into that particular thing, you probably would have bought that thing and you'd read that. So that's not particularly new either, is it? The other thing they've got, though, if I'm sure you'd be excited to know this, is every back issue of Warhammer Visions. Who cares? I mean, Warhammer Visions was a misguided experiment where they replaced White Dwarf for a while with a stupid issue which was just full of pretty much photography. It was terrible. I never got any of them. I was so annoyed at the time. And luckily they realised this was a dumb idea. Obviously no one's buying it. Let's go back to White Dwarf. And they resurrected White Dwarf and made it really, really good again. Good on you. But putting up all 30 issues of Warhammer Visions, I don't think anyone cares. That's not very interesting at all. So again, a mixed bag for the Warhammer Vault. Nothing there that really grabbed my interest. Finally, you've got access to the Warhammer 40,000 app, and they've also just released the Warhammer Age of Sigmar app. Now, there's one problem I have with these apps, which no one else seems to have mentioned. They're only iPhone size. When you load them up on an iPad, you just get the iPhone-sized window, which seems kind of weird to me. I don't know why they didn't do it in large size as well. I don't know, maybe there's some technical reason for it, but I've seen plenty of apps that work on both iPhone and iPad, and these ones don't. So anyway, that aside, they're very useful apps. They've got all the stuff in them. They've got all the existing stats for all the existing armies. In the case of Age of Sigmar app, and I assume for the 40,000 one, they have all the existing stats up to now, and then as you buy war tomes, there's a code in the back that allows you to unlock all the sort of special detailed stuff, like allegiance abilities and things like that. So, for example, Age of Sigmar has everything in there, but if you get the Auric War Clans and Stormcast Eternal books, the two new ones, they've got a code in the back and you'll be able to unlock extra content. Which is fine because, you know, personally I don't use that extra content much. It's all the detailed special abilities for battalions and legions and all that stuff. So as a casual player, I don't use that. So the app is really good. They've both got army building systems on them, which look fine. I think most dedicated players use something called Battle Scribe that a third party made a while back. But and there was a lot of problems with the launch of the Warhammer 40,000 app when it first came out. It was buggy and had problems. Apparently that's got a lot better. I haven't gone into heavy detail of these because, again, I don't think I'll be using them much because of my limited amount of play. I'm not playing with other players. When I play Warhammer 40,000 or Age of Sigmar, I play with a friend and I organise everything. I set up the armies, it's my collection. So I don't need army building tools and all that kind of thing, and I don't need to access all the stats. So, not very useful for me, but for most people I think it is going to be quite useful. The Warhammer Age of Sigmar one has just been launched. It's in open beta, so you can go in and make suggestions if you find problems with it. I think that's good. Whether it's going to be tied just into the subscription or you can get it separately and not have a subscription, I mean, surely you'll be able to get it separately. Otherwise, that would be stupid, just locking it off to Warhammer Plus subscribers. I'm sure they won't do that. I don't know. So that's what I saw when I got my free month to Warhammer Plus. Will I continue subscribing? No, I most definitely will not. And that's only because of those caveats that I told you before. A, I don't like unnecessary subscription services. B, I'm not a dedicated Warhammer player who's really into the background lore and wants to watch animations and things like that. So that's just me. If you like that stuff, you're going to love it because more Warhammer is great for you. The more the better. So if you want to sign up, if you don't mind paying whatever it costs in your country, you've got to listen to this, see other reviews, do your research, work out if it's enough value for you. And there will be people who definitely think it's good value because they'll get to watch Warhammer animations. I'm sure they'll put in more exclusive stuff as they go along. They'll be expanding it. Let's face it, every company wants a hotline to your wallet. It's all very well just buying things one-off, but what they really want is for you to give them a certain amount every month ad infinitum. So it is in Games Workshop's interest to make this as appealing as possible, and I'm sure they will. I personally think that they should have put more in the initial release to grab people and hold them. For someone like me, there's definitely not enough content. For someone who's really into Warhammer, there might be enough content to start with. But I think they should have just thrown everything at it, really gone big. Because it is a big call asking for a hotline to your wallet, and I think you've got to give people a lot of value for it. I've seen people compare Warhammer Plus to Netflix and things like that, which is just ridiculous. It's not anything like it. Yes, they're both subscription services. One has astonishing gobs of content, like garbage, but astonishing gobs of content. One is just a small amount of stuff to launch with, which will slowly grow over time. But of course, completely different. And I tell you, not too different in price here in New Zealand. Netflix for me is $14 a month. Warhammer Plus is $10 a month. But my goodness, there's a huge difference in the amount of content. So, you know, it's not really something that I would sign up for. Anyway, check it out. You might really enjoy it and you might love watching those animations and getting access to 30 issues of Warhammer Visions. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this very personal look at Warhammer Plus. Subscribe if you haven't already, hit all notifications. Remember, there's a Patreon page for the Esoteric Order of Gamers, and there's exclusive stuff for supporters of the EOG as well. You can sign up to the Discord community, which is fantastic. There's about 60 people there, all going on about games, showing off their miniature painting. It's really grown. I'm really happy about it. There's also exclusive videos for Patreon supporters as well. So check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/esotericorder and support your favourite games channel. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.